Hey, what's going on, guys? So today we're checking in on the HG GQuuuuuuX lineup here with the Gelgoog, the most not looking like a Gelgoog that I think we've ever seen here. But this is Sugai's Gelgoog model kit here. One of two different variants of this model kit that exist in this lineup. We'll be taking a look at the other one later on, but for now, this one came out first. This one being number 3 in the HG GQuuuuuX lineup. It looks like a gym, and it's even colored like a gym, but in fact, it is a Gelgoog. Let's go ahead and get into it here for today's video. Anyway, some really cool box art here on the front with the Gelgoog looking very very dynamic there, with some really nice details on the box art painting there with the eyes and the head camera glowing. You've got even the little cameras and the shooting out of the wire here from the ends of the fingers, and you can see the other Gelgoog there in the background. That's going to be, like I said, the separate HG. We'll take a look at that one later on. But certainly not a very thick box here with this one. It's only going to be a couple of runners, and this is another one where we have vertical box art here on one end, and on the other end is going to be the kind of the standard horizontal. The box art here featuring all of our titling, and then the small number up in the corner letting us know this is number 3 in the HG GQuuuuuX lineup. And then on the bottom of the box, the painted sample build here shown in a number of different poses, showing the range of articulation and weapons. We've got a beam saber, beam rifle, and that's pretty much it for our accessories. There you can see for the gimmicks there, I guess 2 little sort of like beam pistols there, and the beam saber and different hand options. So it looks like we've got kind of a limited range of accessories here, but basically everything that you would need, I suppose. There's a look at the front and rear view of the painted sample build, and then the unpainted sample right there in the little thumbnail image right there. All right, let's crack it open and see what we got inside. So it looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-ish, and then plus the beam sabers runners. So yeah, not a whole lot in there. The front of the manual has the same image from the box art, just minus all the background, which looks really cool there. You can see like the thrust effects and everything. A little bit of info down here about Sugai's Gelgoog there in Japanese and in English. And going around here onto the backside, we have some more sample images of the kit. It looks really cool. Not a whole lot of information here on the backside. There is our color guide and then some QR codes for the GQuuuuuX site and the builder's note there. On the inside, we do have our parts list right here, and the runner labels are also color coded for you, which works well for the first bit of construction, because it's showing you which runners you need. Like for the head, you need runners B, C1, D1, and E, and it shows you which color they are and everything, so that's great. As the first bit of construction through the arms is in color, but then once we get to the inside of the instruction manual, it's all in black and white, and that's kind of a little bit less helpful there, but goes through the rest of the construction here. We do have a wire for in the hand as well, so that's cool. We'll check that out. Let's go ahead and take a quick look at the included sticker sheet here, which is basically one sticker marking there for the shoulder on a sticker decal there, and that's it. And then, yeah, we do have our included wire, and I do really like this in that it's quite thin, so that it will look pretty good for the scale, and it's also very malleable. Like you can put it in whatever pose you want and it'll actually hold the pose like really quite nicely. Looks to be about 15 centimeters in length total, so very happy with that. And with that, let's go ahead and get into the runners. So we don't have any polycaps at all, but we do have runner SB6 for our beam saber effect parts. These are like the old style 144 scale beam saber effect parts all the way back from 2005. Interestingly though, in like a little bit different kind of like color blend though, not in like the standard clear pink, but it's a little bit more sort of like translucent clear pink. And I thought, oh, maybe these are just like more UV reactive, but if I test this out with the UV light, it like sort of, but not really. I mean, like on camera, it probably looks like it's lighting up a lot more, but not as much as it would if it was like actual really UV reactive clear plastic. So that's a little bit unfortunate there. Runner A is going to be in 4 colors here: yellow, dark gray, red, and white up there at the top. Runner B then also a 4-color runner, which is quite unusual. Usually we have like one multicolor runner in a kit, especially in a high grade kit, but in this one we've also got here very dark gray, like basically black here at the bottom, a little bit of a lighter gray part here over on the side, and then some more kind of off-white, and then yellow up there at the top. Runners C1 and C2 then are going to be the rest of our off-white colored parts here. And I do say off-white just because it's not like a super pure white. As you can see, it is a very slightly kind of slight tint of bluish color to the white plastic there. And then runners D1 and D2 are going to be some more parts here in this dark brownish gray color there for weapons and joint and inner frame type of parts there. Lastly, then runner E is going to be in this sort of like a dark teal color here for the visor, and I think that's also another head camera part there. Quite interesting color choice, I gotta say, but that's it for the runners. Let's go ahead and check out the kit. Alright guys, and here is the kit all built up. Super cool, really unique build with this one, just like the other kits in the line that I've built so far. This one was a very interesting build, quite quick build as well. It went together like really fast, so it kind of felt almost like a 30 minutes missions kit in that sense. Definitely more complex than that. I'm not saying it's that simple. It's a little bit more complex, obviously much more design. You have a lot of little parts in there, and while we don't have a ton of accessories in here, we do have some cool stuff, so let's go ahead and take a look at those here to get started. And first up, on the note of this sticker that's supposed to go on the shoulder, you notice that there's that big panel line right through the middle of the shoulder, so if you stick this sticker directly on there, it's going to be going over the top of that. Now, if this was a water slide, you can cut the water slide and use a Mark Softer and sink the water slide into the panel line there and make it look more realistic. You can't do that with these stickers though, so what I would recommend to do is actually just cut the sticker first where the panel line is going to be, so you need to cut a straight line, and then stick the two halves on the shoulder separately above and below that panel line so that it looks a bit more realistic. I don't know. So anyway, ultimately the better option would just be to get water slide decals for this, but in lieu of that, let's talk about our other accessories. We've got some hand options here, the typical HG weapon holding hands there, nothing too exciting, but then we do also have an open hand option for the left side only, but some really nice detail on that, both on the inside and the outside of that hand. It's going to look really cool. And then of course we have the string shot hand as well, which has the wire that will plug into the four fingers there. Again, this is for the left side only. And then that wire is going to extend out to this little tip part that you have at the end there as well. We've got our beam saber effects and beam saber handle. Now there's only one handle, so you might be thinking that you've just got the one beam saber effect you can use with that, and then the other one's just a spare. Well, kind of, yeah, you don't have to use both. You can use both though, because there is actually, you'll notice a hole in both ends, and obviously if you've seen the anime as well, but if you're like me and you've not seen the anime, maybe you didn't know this offhand, but you can connect the beam saber effect into both ends of the beam saber handle and basically turn it into something that is akin to the original Gelgoog's beam Naginata, so I think that's a pretty cool kind of callback there. You've got this connection piece here, which will connect onto the back skirt. The beam saber can be stored up in there like that, and this is just going to be plugged right into the back skirt right there. And you'll notice this large peg sticking out the back there, because that's also going to be where we can store our two handguns. So the two handguns are just going to be exactly the same. They're not different for like the left and the right side. There's no peg in the handle for pegging into the hand. These are just going to fit into your regular HG holding hands as normal. So they don't really have any bells and whistles, really nothing really too crazy about these, but these can also be stored on the back skirt, and they actually kind of stack, which is cool. So the first one is going to plug onto there like that, and then the second one is going to plug onto here like this. So it can actually store all its weaponry, the two beam pistols and then the beam saber, all on the back skirt there like that, which is really cool. I like that. And that's it for the accessories. Now I suppose you might count these shields on the side of the arm as an accessory, sort of, as they're not like integral to the kit. It's just a hard point there, so if you wanted to remove these shield parts and attach some other shield part onto there, or whatever you want onto there, you absolutely can use that. It's just a standard 3mm hard point there on the side of the arm. I actually find these shield parts here in the arm to be a little bit loose. It's not like super tight in there. I don't feel like it's gonna fall out, but it feels like it should be like a little bit tighter or something, or it needs to have like that little like tab where it's like a circle with like a little tab like at the very edge there, like just like to keep it straight or something. But as with the rest of the kits that we've seen in the line so far, a lot of detail on here. It looks really nice. You have some really nice range of movement up there at the neck. It's like a double joint, so really good range of movement there. And then down, so the neck articulation is really nice here in the torso, some nice articulation here, with that being able to bend all the way back like so, all the way forward like that, and then even side to side here as well. So a nice range of movement there. One thing is that these backpack parts do tend to fall off really easily, as this just fell off in my hand. These backpack parts are just connected via a ball joint right there, and so this just ball and socket joint there for the backpack bits will allow them to move around a little bit, but it's very easy to just pop them off. This part can also move up and down, so you can kind of adjust the angle of these thruster parts for the backpack. And again, some really nice detail on there with this like bar detail. You are going to have a seam line right down the middle of those, which is pretty unpleasant. Most of the custom builds that I've seen have just left that seam line there just because it's a somewhat complicated one. There's obviously ways that you can like cut and modify the part on the inside in order to remove the seam on this outside part. It can certainly be done, but it's just kind of an odd placement there for that. But the articulation of the shoulder is also going to be pretty nice, swinging forward there a bit, but then moving upwards, really nice and far there, so no limit to that articulation. Essentially, you have a rotation here in the bicep. It's a little bit tight, just a single joint in the elbow, but it is going to give you a pretty full bend there. As you can see, and the backpack part fell off again. Might as well just take both of those off for the time being. So just that single joint, and there's not like a separate joint in there, like kind of that we're normally used to. It's this type of joint there, just with like the bicep part and then the forearm part that are just connected together without necessarily like a typical kind of joint in between. The wrist itself is just on a ball joint, pretty standard for an HG. And then when it comes to the skirt armor, we really don't have much skirt armor here with this, but these parts here on the side are able to move up and down a little bit. So if you wanted to bring the leg up really far, and if you were finding that the skirt armor part kind of getting in the way, the fact that you can bring that skirt armor up a bit is pretty nice for getting the leg up nice and high. Now our leg can also do pretty nice bend with a double joint, but you'll find, oh, when you bend the leg, it actually bumps into that thruster bell at the back, but that thruster bell actually moves as well. So you can move that back, get that out of the way, so you can get a much fuller bend there with the double joint at the knee and get a really nice full knee bend there. And another point that I just really love about the design of this one is with these like kind of fuel tanks sort of design sort of built into the leg, and the way that looks here, just the detail and color separation looks really, really nice, even just straight out of the box here. Now at the thigh, you are going to be a bit limited in that you don't have rotation here at the thigh. It's not just like a ball and socket joint, but it's going to work very similarly to the joint that you do have in there, but it will allow you a good range out to the side, out to the front, you saw, so a good range of movement there, but no rotation at the top. You can get the legs kind of far enough out to the side. I think any further than that would just kind of be ridiculous, so I think that the range is fine. But going around here back to the back of the leg, this thruster bell here does not move, where this one up in the back of the thigh does move up and down. This one down here does not. That's just fixed in that position. The feet are really interesting design here, so you will have some nice movement side to side for those, more particular to the inside than to the outside, which does kind of make sense. You want the ankles to be able to move so that the feet can stay flat on the ground, even with the legs in like a wide stance pose like that, so that works perfectly well. To the front, feet can go that much and back that much, and you do have a separate toe bend here as well, which is really nice. And then full detail underneath, so no hollow gaps there. Well, a little bit there maybe at the end of the toe. That's kind of about it. So one other quick note here on the head is that obviously we don't have foil stickers for the cameras, but you have this like camera array there on the front, the head camera up there on top, and then this head camera here at the back. But you'll notice that although we don't have stickers, those are all color accurate, as it's actually two different like those green pieces that go inside the head there. One piece which will give you the cameras for the front and back, and then a separate piece obviously for the front visor there as well. So while I think something of a brighter color or something would look a little bit nicer than the color that we get straight out of the box with this one, that could very easily just be painted, and I would definitely recommend painting that. But man, there's one thing that definitely remains true for this line is that these kits are just really highly detailed for high grade kits. I mean, this is just the kind of level of detail that you don't see with most high grade lines. Now the HG, the Origin line might be the only other line that like comes to mind that where they're HG kits, but they have a lot of surface detail on them. Other than that, the GQuuuuuuX line is just going to be just a really nicely detailed set of model kits here in a high grade 144 scale. So that and just the overall uniqueness of the design is definitely something that sets these apart, and why I would definitely recommend checking them out. If you've not checked out any of the GQuuuuuuX kits yet, definitely check one out. I think this would be a great one for maybe if you're not super into like the Gundam designs. I think some of the other different mobile suit designs from this series are actually ones that I actually prefer more than the Gundams, and that's very much the case with the Hammurabi, which is coming out next, and very much looking forward to that one. But in the meantime, I do have a couple other kits in the line that I plan on trying to get built and reviewed before the Hammurabi comes out, so make sure to stay tuned for those. If you guys want to check out some more kits for yourself, you can check the link in the video description down below there to USA Gundam Store. We've got a bunch of stuff there on the site, not only from this series, but from other series as well. But overall, I really like this kit. You have a good amount of accessories in there with the two beam handguns and then with the beam saber. And that wire out from the finger is also really cool. And there's kind of just one thing. I mean, I know that it's all kind of like alternate history or alternate reality sort of with the whole GQuuuuuuX series. And so with this being a Gelgoog and obviously not looking very much like a Gelgoog, I have to say I do kind of wish that this would have carried over a little bit more of like what we typically think of like with the Gelgoog. I mean, obviously the proportions are very different, and like just the overall silhouette is going to be very different, but having some sort of like shield that in some way looks a little bit kind of similar to like the Gelgoog shield, I think is something that I would have really liked for this design. Obviously you could make something, or you could kit bash this, you could use an actual like HG Gelgoog shield or something like that if you really wanted to. I think that might be something that would be really cool. I've seen loads of custom builds of this with all these GQuuuuuX kits. I'm just seeing loads and loads of custom builds that give me a lot of really cool ideas of different things that I've seen people do on Twitter, for example. But being myself a huge fan of the Gelgoog, this is definitely not that, but I am a fan of this as well. Sort of a Gelgoog-in-name-only. It does kind of have like the same snoot on the face that does also remind me a lot of the Gelgoog, but other than that, really not a whole lot. Anyway, whatever you want to call it, it's a really cool mobile suit design and makes for a really nice high-grade kit. I don't think that we're probably ever going to see a master grade of this, but if you like this design, definitely check out this HG. Let me know your guys' thoughts down in the comment section below. What do you think about this one? And if you enjoyed the review today, make sure to leave a like. If you're not yet subscribed, you can subscribe there as well. And thank you guys so much, as always, just for checking out the video. I'll see you in the next one. Later.